about the conflict that is raging in Middle East. Though there are indication of talks, President Donald Trump has said that we are talking with Iranian leadership, but fighting is still going on. How do you see the current conflict and how Argentina views it?
Well, I think the conflict is ongoing. It's a very old conflict, no? Because when we talk about the Middle East, in fact, there is not such a thing as one conflict, but a number of conflicts together, and that they are overlapped one and the other. The Argentine government has been very clear to supporting the operation, and especially giving the support to the American government and to the Israeli government. We have a very special link with Israel. And at the same time, we hope that some sort of agreement or some sort of situation might be achieved for the good of the people there, for the good of the region, for the good of the stability of the region that is so important in the world. And I think that will be good for the global scenario. We hope this is going to be achieved soon. We don't know. There were some recent developments that were positive, and we hope that could be fulfilled. Really, we are all looking at this, especially from here, no?
So what about the impact of war in Argentina? Do you see any sort of impact? Because here we are seeing gas shortages, oil shortages. In Argentina, do you see any sort of impact of this?
Well, Argentina, fortunately, now in the last years, under this leadership of the new government and under some reforms that are being underway, we have the opportunity to recover our energy, let's say, sustainability. So we are not facing problems to the scale that other regions of the world are facing at this present moment. Although, if the world economy faces important disruptions, that will be felt everywhere, no? So there is no region able to be completely isolated. But at the same time, I have to mention Argentina is situated in South America. It's a peaceful region. It's a part of the world without nuclear weapons. It's a part of the world without major geopolitical problems. So in that sense, we are relatively better. But the world today is too interconnected, so we require, all the international community requires a sort of stability in order to the countries to be able to achieve their national goals and national ambitions. So we are expecting this situation to evolve in a positive way, I hope. We are not sure, but we hope.
So the war has severely impacted the energy supply lines all over the world. India is one of the largest importers of oil and gas. We have seen the reports that we are importing energy from Argentina now, and the gas import has doubled in the last 3 months. So can you give us some details how much India is importing from Argentina, and what are the plans for the future, sir?
Well, I think India is becoming the fourth largest economy, or going to be the third largest economy. It's a great importer of energy, as other major economies in the world, especially in this part of the world, or in Asia, that is growing so much. And I think the Indian government has been working in this strategy of diversifying these natural resources and the provision of energy in the last years. And I think that's very positive. It's very wise from your side. And I think a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister, even in the Parliament, he said that you are developing a strategy that in order to get provision of energy from, I think, more than 40 countries. So Argentina can be, of course, one of them. It is already working in starting a cooperation in this field. The two countries have been working very positively in cooperation in terms of agriculture, in terms of minerals, for example, in lithium. But in terms of energy, we are starting, but there is a possibility to grow on that sense. Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world, India is the 7th, but at the same time we have a relatively small population. We are only less than 50 million. So the domestic consumption of food and energy is relatively small, and in that sense it's a country that can provide to India and other Asian countries big provision in this sense, and we hope we are in the start of a cooperation in the time. Yeah.
So when we talk about the energy trade, are we talking about just gas, or there are these there are scope for the crude oil imports also for India, sir?
No, mainly it's about gas, because Argentina has an important reserve of gas. In the south of Argentina, there is a reserve called Vaca Muerta, which is very important. And the government, the current government under the leadership of President Milei, is working very hard on that. And we are working in this sense. And the president of our national gas and oil and gas company, Envoy Mariano, was here 2 times last year in talks with Indian companies in the energy sector, and also in a number of opportunities with Minister Hardeep Puri. So it is something that is, I would say, is in the initial steps of this cooperation. But maybe this situation accelerates the need of the 2 countries to work together and to find a sort of understanding in this field. The 2 economies are too complementary, although they are very far away. The 2, mainly India and South American economies, are very complementary. In the specific case of Argentina, this is absolutely true. That's why, as you know, the trade relationship between the 2 countries has been growing so much in the last 5 or 6 years.
Sir, you mentioned about it is in the initial stage. So, is there any goals that has been set between India and Argentina for their energy?
Well, there are always goals, from the government's established goals and the companies' established goals. But I think that, and that's positive, because that establishes an objective. But the important is the trajectory of things, so that we are growing in this relationship. And as India is becoming a so important economy in the world, and you are going to be one of the 4 or 5 most important countries in the world, you are already, but you are going to be very soon. So every country is looking at India, and in the case of Argentina, we are working specifically on that. In the last 2 years, I have been almost 2 years having served here. We are working every day in that field, to the mutual benefit of the 2 countries.
And sir, in the trades also, we have seen the tremendous growth of trade between the 2 countries. So what are the key areas that you are focusing on, that there should be? Energy is one of the sector, but are there other sectors also you are exploring when it comes to trade between the 2 countries, sir?
Well, Argentina currently is the #1 provider of edible oils to this country. We are #1 in soybean oil for a number of years. We were the #3 in sunflower oil. Last year we were #2. And combine the 2 of the edible oils, let's say, field, we are #1 provider. So we are contributing to food security here in India. There are other agriculture products that could be sold here, could be bring here, as long as the Indian government allows and reduces some type of protectionism that I know that for domestic reasons you still have. But at the same time, for the domestic consumption here, it would be very positive if we can provide them here, and that could be expanded in agriculture. Then you have mining, and you have, for example, lithium, where you have these companies, Indian companies already working in the north of Argentina, in the state of Catamarca, in the province of Catamarca. And I think there is more possibilities of cooperation in that sense. And then you have this field of energy. I would say agriculture, mining, critical minerals, and energy. These like 3 main areas in which, that's talking about the economy, Then we have a lot of cooperation in terms of culture and sports, but talking about economic is that.
So you mentioned about the barriers also. There are some barriers.
Yeah.
What steps are being taken to address those barriers? Trade deal is there. Can you tell us a bit about what steps are being taken, sir, in this direction?
Well, we are always talking to our Indian friends, our Indian counterparts, about the possibility of bringing more products, and that will be very positive, we think, for the Indian consumptions, for the Indian consumers, for the Indian domestic consumers. And I think if the government is opening the economy in the last 3 decades, and that's why one of the reasons of India has thrived so much since you introduce, let's say, the rules of open economy and the market economy. So, and it's something that the Indian government is doing, but maybe it's not done from night to day, and as many as we would wish, But I think we are working together in that sense, and things will be going on. Sometimes we have to be more patient, but I think we are in a good path, yes.
So coming back to the conflict, sir, what role do you see India playing in this conflict? Is there a positive?
I think India is on the position, I would say the Indian leadership, no? Specifically talking about the Prime Minister Modi. I think the Indian leadership is in the position to be able to make a diplomatic effort in order to work towards a solution. I don't know if they are doing, I heard that there are some efforts, but some of these conversations, of course, are reserved, and it's positive to be done like this, and among with other powers. But I think that India has the conditions to fulfill a role, because it's the largest country in the world in terms of population. The leadership of the Prime Minister is well recognized in the world. It is an extremely respected leader in the world today. So I think you are in a great position to at least to try to work on that field. But at the same time, it doesn't depend only on the Indian side. No? It depends on the whole situation, and we are all expecting and following the developments of this crisis.
Sir, I want to end my interview by asking you, is there any high-level visits between the two countries that are being planned right now, sir?
Well, now there is an Steel Bharat conference that is organized by the Indian government on mining and steel, and we hope some people from Argentina, some governors might try to come. We are working on that. Sometimes trips are not so easy because of the distance, as you know, but we are working on that possibility. I hope I have good news soon.